So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can go through pretty much any new activity and become a master at it. I've done this in many different things. Like I played college basketball as a professional Fortnite player. I grew my TikTok to over 100,000 followers. I've launched 2 online businesses that have done over 30K a month. And now I'm doing YouTube. So I'm going to show you the graph and the framework I have as a mental understanding to hit those goals. This is only going to be a short video, so 10 minutes. Make sure you watch the whole thing. If you don't watch the whole thing, you're not going to actually learn anything. Okay, so I'm going to get to it. So the first thing that you need to know is when you start something, a lot of the times people get into something because they think they're going to be good. For instance, you ever hear people be like, oh, I'm going to go get into real estate. And they have this assumption that they're probably going to be good or it's going to work out for them. And that assumption is actually what ends up biting people in the ass because there's a graph that looks like this. Let me show you. So the first thing is if you, on this graph, on the bottom, you have experience. So let's just say years of experience on the bottom. And let's say 5 years is the ending. God, I'm such a bad artist. And then 0 at the start. And then on the left side, we have confidence. That is actually confidence, believe it or not. And on the top side, we have 100% confidence. So when you start out something, your confidence level within, like right when you start, is going to be pretty high. Let's put it up around 90%. Right around there. So when you start something, your confidence is going to be really high, but this is not a good thing. And you need to be wary of this false confidence that we often have due to ego or other things that we've done in the past. The human mind just tricks ourselves into these things, okay? So we assume that we're going to be very good at this, but realistically, this is what actually happens. So the first thing is after about, let's just say it's 1 year, we could go 2, 3, 4, 5. But after about 1 year, this number will just go ahead and drop. And the reason why that is because as time goes on, as you move this way on the x-axis, I believe, I was so bad at math, but as you move right, you gain experience in years, you're going to start going through a shit ton of problems that you could never have foreseen the problems you're going through. They're causing you massive headaches and they suck. So things like if you're in real estate, let's say it's, bad tenants, and bad landlords, or like there's so many different things that you could run into. Let's just say it's taxes. God, that does say taxes, believe it or not. So your tenants, your taxes, like all these things are making it actually not that profitable. Maybe it's insurance. Like if you live in Florida, you buy a condo in Florida, in Miami or Tampa, insurance is going to be extremely high for homeowners insurance because insurance companies in Florida just charge a shit ton, right? So there's all these things that you did not foresee. And when you started, you're like, oh, I want to make a killing. And now you're down here and you're like, maybe you're at 20% confident. You're like, actually, I'm not that good at this. You know what I mean? But you're like, well, I'm kind of tough, so I'm going to struggle on. So maybe you struggle on for another year or so. And, but it doesn't really get better. In fact, it kind of gets worse. And so now you're down here at like 15% confidence level. So you're 15% confident. You're getting a little bit worried now, a little anxious. And you're like, damn, what am I going to do? Because you want to quit. And actually, this is where most people quit, is in this 0 to 2 range in here. This is the quitting zone. Under 20% confident and within 2 years of experience is where people go to quit. So if you're within 1 or 2 years of doing something, most people quit. That's just the reality. That's why everyone talks about saturation. It's not a real thing because if you survive longer than this 2-year period, you're going to beat out 99% of people. Everyone else just quits. Okay. I never felt like I was that talented at anything I've done in my life, but most people just quit. So you don't even have to be crazy talented. You just have to get past this 2-year mark. Everyone that I know, I'll tell you a quick story. I live in the Heron. And so everyone, well, I just doxed myself, but I live in the Heron in Tampa. It's a very nice building. It's full of entrepreneurs and digital media people and content creators and all this stuff, right? All these people, when I ask them, oh, well, how long have you been doing that? How long have you been doing e-com? How long have you been running ads for people? Like whatever it is that they're doing, they're usually like, well, it's been about 4 or 5 years now, or sometimes more, sometimes 7 or 8 or 10, right? Even people that are 21, 22 years old that are here, I'm like, how long have you been doing that? Like you're really young. They're like, yeah, it's been like 5 years now. There's no shortcut. And I always try to tell people this is like, if you want to get to high confidence level and be very successful, you have to go through the shit for 2 years. And if you don't have that mental framework, then when shit does get hard, because it inevitably will get hard in everything that you do in every realm of human endeavor, then you're going to quit. So if you don't want to quit, then you have to get past this 1 to 2 year mark. Now around here is when things will start picking up. So usually around this mark, around 3, you start kind of going back up where you're like, okay, I know all these problems. I know how to deal with them. And I'm actually starting to see good things in the future. Like I can visualize me being successful with this now because the main problems I have, I've dealt with, I've survived. I'm committed to being successful. So around this point is when you hit that turning point. And then you start actually working your way back up. Now you're getting successful. You know, let's say you're running ads for people. At this point, you've landed like some whale clients that are paying you a ton of money. Instead of charging, you know, a monthly retainer to run ads for people, you're charging a percentage of spend. So not even how much you're making, but how much the client's spending. So if the client spends $100K a month on ads and you're charging, I don't know, 5% or something, you're getting like much more than you were getting it for your retainers. You know, a lot of e-com brands run way more than that. So people get paid even more, right? And then, you know, at the end of it is when you're all the way back up to 100%. You're like, okay, I'm confident enough now where I know that I can be successful, and I've proven it to myself because through all this process, you've dealt with all these little tiny aggravations along the way. What finally happens is when there's so much time that you've put into this, the universe will literally bend to your will. And I try to explain this concept to people, and it's really hard for me to articulate it. But if you literally want something and you're committed to it for this many years and you're actively working to improve, you don't quit in this 0 to 2 year zone and you just keep going, you're going to have massive success because people are going to know you for whatever that endeavor is that you choose. You have to make sure you pick the right vehicle. If you don't pick the right vehicle, then this outcome, this 100% outcome, is not even worth it. Like there's people who pick an outcome and they're not even successful. So the first thing is manage expectations. Because this part is extremely, extremely tough and you're going to go through bad up and downs. But once you've done that and you've gotten through them, it applies to everything. Like, you know, me having the internet cut out, you know, my first big LAN tournament or whatever, or my keyboard disconnecting, me getting last place, my first major Fortnite tournament was like, oh, like this shit is actually really hard and I'm not as good as I thought I was. And your confidence goes down. But you have to be nice to yourself for the fact that you're trying and you're figuring it out and it takes time. And the people that are there that I'm competing against have already competed in 3 other professional games. So it's like that in pretty much everything. Like the second thing is pick the right vehicle. And your vehicle should not just be like, oh, well, I heard people are doing copywriting well, so I'm going to do copywriting. It's like, are you a good writer? Do you know people you can copyright for to get started? Or are you just going into something blind because someone told you to? Like me, I'm a content creator. I like making content. So I know I'm going to be successful in that because I already really like it and it's what I want to do. So let me just figure out how to be successful in content creation. And that's what I've done with UGC, doing UGC for Whoop and Lululemon and Kane Footwear and some of these massive brands, right? So that's what you need to do is pick something aligned with your skill set, what you like, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. So it's an intersection of those 4 things, which is called Ikigai, Japanese principle. I always share this because I think it's really important. So make sure you're picking the right vehicle. And the third thing is everyone will quit. So everyone will literally quit the game. They rage quit. I don't know if you've ever played video games before, but people just quit. People quit in all facets of life. You will actually be massively successful if you just don't quit. So it's a combination of these 3 things where you manage expectations. You don't think you're just going to be the best at something right away. You pick the right vehicle and then everyone will quit. You do those things and then you can be extremely successful over a long enough time horizon. And if your time horizon is not 3 to 5 years, then honestly, you're not managing expectations well enough. If you're assuming, oh, it's going to take me a year, then you're going to upset yourself. You're going to go through huge ups and downs too much, and you'll probably quit. And that's what happens to most people. So assume whatever it is that you're doing and you want to be really successful at will take you 3 to 5 years, and you're not going to go through this quitting zone that most people go through. Because if you're not successful after the first or second year, that's like, oh yeah, that's part of it. That's what's supposed to happen. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to y'all later.